Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Inferno is here to grade Niantic for the year that was 2023 in Pokemon Go. Did they pass? Did they fail? Or did they end up in between somewhere? Let's find out, shall we? Let's get on with it. Alright, ladies and gentlemen of the YouTube citizens, y'all know who this is. It's your boy Troy Inferno. Today's date is Tuesday, January the... Oh, I was way too soon with this. January the 2nd. There we go. Much better. Alright, so before we get on to the meat of this video, I just want to remind people once again about this right here. Yes, this is actually a part of my True Inferno merch right here. The Silver Inferno hoodie right here. So yes, you can pick this up. The link to it is down right there. It will also be in the description box below rather. And because of the fact that Michigan beat Alabama Monday night to advance on to the national championship game where they would take on Washington, Ice Cold Brad, the discount will continue on until then. So yes, if at checkout, use the code Wolverines to get 20% off your entire cart. There may be some restrictions, so I'm letting you know right now there may be some restrictions where it may not work. You may get like a lower discount, something like that. I don't know, but yeah, make sure you take advantage of that discount. Now here's the thing: if Michigan were to beat Washington and win the national championship, then that discount will last throughout the entire month of January. But if they lose, the discount ends right there on the spot. But I think I have a sneaky suspicion that the discount will last for the entire month. And based on some investigating I've done, I may have to lower the discount. I don't know yet. We have to wait and see how it goes. But nevertheless, at this point in time, it's 20% off. Make sure you hit up the link store, the Rev store rather, right there, and use code Wolverines at checkout. So there you go with that. Now with that out the way, let's Professor Inferno get to grading Niantic on the job they have done in the year 2023 involving Pokemon Go. So here we go. We're going to start things off with the in-game events. So we talk about events like Community Day, like the Team Go Rocket Takeover events, and you know, like the Psychic event or the Halloween event or the Winter Holiday and stuff like that. And we're going to also include the global versions of in-person events like the Go Tour, Horn event, Global Go Fest, and things of that nature. So let's look at the pros. So there were some good events. I named some actually. So for example, I can't think of any bad community day events. I really couldn't. Not off the top of my head. Like I really couldn't. There was nothing that really sticks out that said, oh my gosh, this was really bad. So the majority was pretty good. Like either they was good or they were meh. But there was none that was bad. Like I can't recall anything that was bad. There was a lot of events. I mean, there was a lot of events, so take your pick in terms of like which events you took part in, because there was a lot of them. There were clearly a lot of events, which brings me to the next point. There were some events where veteran players like myself could rest up. So there was some, like there wasn't that many, but there was some where it was focused more towards newer players or players that missed out on certain Pokemon, and this was the opportunity to get it, or because I got all the shinies that was available and the bonuses were bland. So I like, yo, I'm taking a break. I took that week off or wherever the case may be from grinding the game. Because, you know, you need breaks like that. So that's good where not every single event has to be for everybody. You do not have to go out and grind every single gosh darn event that Niantic presented to you with the in-game events. You don't have to do it. So for there to be an event that focuses on newer players or players that might have missed out on something, that's cool. You know, give everybody a shot to shine. And if you took part in that event or you got all the Pokemon that was featured in that event already, then like take a break. Take a break, man. You don't have to complain about it. Just take a break. Because not every single event that came from January 1st to December 31st is supposed to be for you. Just take a break. So that's like one of my gripes about people who complain about, oh man, this event is just newer players. I don't like it. I'm like, so take a break. Like, geez, calm down. Stop being selfish. So I like the fact that, again, there were some events where we could take a break from grinding the game. I'm not saying don't play the game at all on that day, but, you know, get your catch, try to spin a Pokestop, complete whatever field research task to keep your streaks going, and then you know, feed your buddy, engage with your buddy and all that jazz, and then you're done for the day. That's not bad. So there's that. But yeah, those were the 3 things that I like about the in-game events. Now here's some cons though. There was some bad events. Like there was the events focused on routes, and there was other events that I can't think of on the top of my head. Like there might have been some cast masteries events that was bad, and there might have been other events that was also bad. But again, I can't think of any of them on the top of my head. But there were some bad ones. There were some bad ones. And then with these events also came questionable special research stories. So there was again a research story that was focused on routes. So that's one right there, and there might have been another one focused on there is another one focused on the party up feature, and they were questionable because not everybody can take part in the party up feature because you need a local community to do that, and some people don't have that, which result in them doing stuff that are against terms of service. I'm not gonna say what they are, but you can probably fill in the blank. But yeah, there you go with that. So in-game events, I'm gonna give it a B-. I think they did a decent job. It's not anything to go crazy about, to write home about. I just thought they did a decent job with the in-game events. So there you go with that. Now let's talk about the in-person events. So let's start off with the pros. So here's the thing. We obviously have the likes of GoFest Osaka, which to me, out of all the events that I've been to, that was the best one. That was the best one. That was the best one. Now, even though it was the best one, it wasn't like 100% awesome. And there's only one reason why that was the case. The reason for that was because of the park location. The park location for GoFest Osaka was terrible. Like, was it the worst ever? No, I will explain what had the worst park location ever throughout the year, that is. But the problem was, downtown Osaka rather was phenomenal. It was great. Sightseeing, the spawns was phenomenal, and all that jazz. But you had to go way further north, away from there, to go to the park, which was terrible. Like, there was some shady spots, but it wasn't a lot. It was extremely hot. So it was like, yeah, that park location was terrible. But outside of that, GoFest Osaka to me was the best event of the year for Pokemon Go. So yeah, there was that. GoFest New York was another great event. Was it better than GoFest Osaka? No, but it was still great nevertheless. But again, guess what the issue was with GoFest New York? The park location, Randall's Park. Now, was it out the way? It was kind of out the way, but not to the level of the park that was in Osaka. So you probably wondering, why was it still bad? I mean, the park was just bad. Like, there was, until to get to the other half of the park where GoFest was, you had to cross some path, and it was too congested, it was too crowded over there. So they had to open up a new path where you had to go further away and all that jazz. It was like not really good. It really wasn't good. But despite that, GoFest New York was also phenomenal. It was on my birthday weekend after all. It was actually on my birthday. Day one was on my birthday. But yeah, it was phenomenal. It was really, really phenomenal. So those two events was really the only great events in-person events rather that Pokemon Go had. Now, a con was the Go to a Hoenn event. That was the one where the park location, or the park that they chose rather, was bad. It was really, really bad. The Go to a Hoenn event, because the park was huge for one. There was a little desert area for two, and also here's the thing. Day one, there was connection issues. So that was the issue. So that event as a whole was bad solely because of those things right there. And getting into the park was not bad. It was not difficult at all. It was getting out. Like, there was so much traffic, you know, trying to call Uber directly from the park to pick you up. Nope, it was bad. It was going to be super expensive. It was not good. It was not good at all. And it was kind of away from downtown Vegas. It kind of was. So that's another reason why it wasn't exactly good. So while it was nice to see everybody in person again and to meet people for the first time there, but the event was not good. Now, I'm not going to say it was straight up terrible, but out of all the in-person events that I've been to, because, you know, we had Go to a Hoenn event, GoFest Osaka, GoFest New York. I'm not counting Worlds because that's not a Pokemon Go event, even though Pokemon Go had a presence there, but that's not a Pokemon Go event. That's a Pokemon event, so I'm not going to count that. I'm not going to count the regional in Fort Wayne, Indiana, because while, again, Pokemon Go had a presence there, that's not a Pokemon Go event. That was again a Pokemon event. So I'm not counting that. And then we also had the Meh, in my opinion, which was the City Safari events that was in Mexico City. So I actually been to 4 in-person Pokemon Go events. 2 of them was great. 1 was meh, and 1 was like bad. And let's talk about the Meh, the City Safari event that took place in Mexico City. That one, I'll be honest, it was a semi-questionable location. And what does that mean? So for it to be questionable, that means it was either good, it's in the middle of good or bad in terms of it being questionable. Like, yeah, it was great, but this happened and that happened. Semi-questionable is more towards the good side because Mexico City, I'll be honest, like, I love the vibe of Mexico City. You know, the atmosphere, the setting was phenomenal. It was great. And I would go back to Mexico City, not for Pokemon Go, because like, I don't think another Pokemon Go event should happen there. But if it was like a friends trip where people want to go down there and hang out, blah, 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 I'm down. I'm down to go back to Mexico City for that, but not for Pokemon Go. So, which brings me to the other part of the semi-questionable part, and that is this. The grounds, the cement, the sidewalks, the streets, they were terrible. I went about that time and time again. I messed up my ankles, and it took about like a week and a half to 2 weeks for my ankles, both my ankles, to fully recover. It was bad. On the first day, the self-service at that one park was terrible because there was just so much going on. There's always something going on in Mexico City. Some type of parade, some type of rally. There's always something going on in Mexico City. And with all that people out and about, and especially at that one park, the self-service was bad for Pokemon Go. Day 2, it was better because there wasn't a lot of stuff going on outside of the City Safari event, but it was, you know, there's always something going on down there. And then, of course, another part of the reason why this event was mad was the Safari had EVs. The Safari, and this probably goes for all 3 City Safari events that took place in 2023. Again, I only been to the Mexico City one. I did not go to the other 2. But the fact that the Safari had EVs, you can only get those from time recess instead of grinding to get the shiny, was a huge letdown. It was a total letdown, in my opinion. That was a terrible decision on their part. That should have been something that you could grind for from completing field research tasks instead of it being restricted to about like 16 or 17 chances through the time research. To me, that was a terrible decision. So, with all that said, with the in-person events, I'm going to give them a B- for that as well. Again, I've been to 4 events. 2 of them was great. 1 of them was bland, and the other one was meh. So, I mean, I can't complain about the 2 great ones, which was New York and Osaka. Both of those events were phenomenal. They were not perfect, but they were both phenomenal. Now, let's get on to the features. And y'all may be like, oh my gosh, in terms of what I have to say about the features, that they either brought into the game or that they removed from the game. Now, let's start off with the one and only pro about the features, and that is this. You get 3 bonus XL candy from in-person raids. That's the only pro that I saw with the features with Pokemon Go. I'm not saying everything else were cons, but that was the only pro that I saw with Pokemon Go. Now let's get on to the cons rather. Routes came out, they were broken. Not a lot of people had the access to do a route, nor did they have access to create a route. So right off the bat, when routes were first brought in, it was not good. It was really, really bad. Not to mention the biggest issue with routes was the fact that you can only get up to 3 Saigon sales per day. Not per route, but per day, if memory says it correctly. And that's up to 3. You're not guaranteed to get 3, which is still low, but the fact that you're not guaranteed to get 3 per day, that's a problem. That's a problem. And it had people going, why on earth will we mess with routes when the rewards was not up there? And that's another thing. The rewards were not there for routes. Like, there was no real incentive to do the routes. Not at all. Not from day one. And not ever since more people got access to creating routes and got access to do the routes. There was hardly any incentives to do the routes. It was bad. It was really, really bad. So they messed up with routes. Moving on to the biggest con about the features, and that is this. The downfall of remote raiding. Yes, we going to talk about that. The downfall of remote raiding was to me, it was a terrible decision. It was the worst decision that they ever done. I understand the idea of trying to get more people to go out and do in-person raids to try to get people to interact with their communities more. But this was not the way to do it, especially since campfire wasn't a thing yet when they pulled the trigger on this. That was a terrible idea, and they, in my opinion, they have not recovered from that. Like, the game have not been the same ever since then. So this right here was a terrible decision on their part right there. Next up, the party up feature. I talked about it when it comes to the in-game events. There was a bad event, one of them featuring the party up feature, the other one featured routes, but the party up feature was terrible. And here's the thing about the party up feature. So there's only one good thing about the party up feature, and that is the fact that when you do raids and you party up with people, you get more power when doing raid bosses, which I will get to in a second. But the power, until outside of that, the incentives for doing the party up feature is not even close to being there. It's really, really bad. It's not really at that point where people should be trying to do the party up feature. It's not there. They need to add more incentives, like better rewards. Because, and here's another thing about these rewards from a number of these features and a number of these special researches and time research that you pay for, which I will get to in a second, and that is this. A number of these resources you can get, or rewards rather, you can get from just opening gifts and spinning Pokestops and spinning photo discs at gyms. You can easily get those rewards from doing free stuff. So it's like, why mess with any of these features? Why pay for time research when you can get all the items, all the rewards from those things for free, from opening gifts, from spinning Pokestops, from spinning photo discs at gyms? Why? It make no sense. It made no sense. So the party up feature, and not to mention, the party up feature did work at the start for the most part. Even though I think, if memory serves correctly, I think there were some issues to begin with. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I know routes had issues at the start, and there was one other feature that had issues at the start. Either it was the party up feature or something else that I'm gonna bring up in a second. So let's get on with this one situation right here. The next con, the double XL, double XSs. Now, it wasn't that they were bad to say, or that like they messed the game up or anything like that, but they offer nothing to the game. They really, really don't. So I don't know why that was a thing when they offered nothing to the game. They don't. Like, they really, really don't. There's nothing special about them. There was nothing special about them. So I don't understand why that was a thing. I don't like that idea at all. And now that I think about it, I think it was the party feature that had issues at the start. I don't know. I don't remember. But nevertheless, the double XL had nothing to the game. So I don't know why they're in the game. Great. I know they are in the main series games, but with this in this game, it's one of those things where something for the main series game doesn't need to be here. It really don't. And probably the second biggest con regarding the features was the fact that the paid time research now have deadlines. They now have deadlines. So even though you pay for them, you have to complete them and claim your rewards within a certain time period. Otherwise, you lose it. And you're basically wasting your money. To me, that's another dumb idea, because in the past, again, where you get a paid time research, they there until you complete it. But for some odd reason, they want to add a timer to it, which to me make no sense. And again, I've talked about this already. I'm going to say here, and that is this. When it comes to these time research, why would you want to pay for that stuff? Because again, the rewards are not that great. The rewards are something that you can easily get from spinning a Pokestop, from spinning a photo disc at gyms, and from opening gifts. You can easily get those from doing those three things. So why would you have to pay money to get something that you can easily get for free, and that you have time to complete to get? So to me, that's another bad idea. So those are the cons that I have for the features. Now, there was a lot of mehs than cons. So let's take a look at them. Shadow Raids. Shadow Raids are a meh. Now you're probably wondering why that is. So here's the problem. Shadow Raids being introduced to the game is cool, but the problem was the fact that you got the Purified Gems and the Purified Shards, or the Shadow Shards, I forgot what they're called. But the problem was there's a limit to both of those. There's a limit to how many shards you can hold, which is actually, okay, the shards, they are used to convert into gems. So actually there's a limit to the amount of gems you can have, and then there's a smaller limit on the amount of gems you can use in a raid, which again, made no sense. Neither one of those made no sense to me. So that was a major issue. Another issue, and this is the biggest one, with the fact that you cannot remote raid towards these shadow raids. So when it came to the legendaries, the legendary shadow raids like Mewtwo and the birds and Ho-Oh and Lugia, again, unless you have a community, you can't do them. You cannot do them. So that was an issue. Now granted, the party up feature helped out with that because of the extra power you get from party up with like 3 to 4 people to do these legendary shadow raids to make that easier. But again, they dropped the ball with that because the party up feature rather should have came out before shadow raids did. Because that was to happen, then yeah, the shadow raids would not have been so bad because you had the additional power. But because they did the shadow raids first, nah, you couldn't do it unless you were in a community that where people actually are active and go out and do stuff. And not everybody are fortunate to do that. And I was playing the wrong word that defined 2023 in a second. Next up, showcases. So the reason why this is a meh is because while me personally, showcases are pro. Like, again, and I'm going back to the shadow raids, there's not much of a community around me. But yet there's a lot of showcases around me. So guess what happens every single time there's a showcase? I'm able to go out, I'm able to get first place, I'm able to capitalize, and I get all those rewards. And again, going back to the whole incentives, like the power-up feature, the routes, and all that other joint, and the time research, where you get crappy rewards, those same rewards that you have to pay for and do all that other stuff for, I can easily get from winning showcases, and then some. And that's, again, that's just me. Not everybody in the whole world has it like I do. So, again, that's just me, but there's other people who don't have showcases, or they may be in a popular city like downtown New York or something like that, I don't know, where there's so many people and spoofers putting their Pokemon into these showcases and automatically get first place, so they can't get first place, they can't get top 10 or whatever the case may be. So that's why it's mad, because it's good for me, but it's not good for everybody. So that's why I'm like, it's mad. It's really, really mad. And not to mention, I think, and then another issue was the fact that all the showcases feature WXLs, and they're supposed to be a mixture of both WXLs and WXSs. So I'm like, what's the deal with that? That was an issue. What's the deal with that? So they need to fix that up as well. So that's the only reason why I'm mad. The radio button. Now you're probably wondering, bro, we've been asking for that for years, and we finally got it. So why is that in the med department? Because in order for you to use the radio button, you have to be in there with somebody else, with one person, in order for you to use the radio button. If you're in there by yourself, you can't use the radio button, which is, to me, is the dumbest thing I have ever seen. I'm like, well, one of them anyway. I'm like, what's the point if you can do solo raid? You have to wait like 2 minutes. I'll get more in that second. If you have to wait 2 minutes to do a raid by yourself, like this, it's like, I wouldn't say it defeats the purpose, because this radio button is still needed for groups as well. But for those who want to do a raid by themselves, because it's like a level 1 raid or a level 3 raid, you can easily solo it. The radio button should be available for everybody. It should be available for everybody. Whether there's one person there or 20, it should be available for everybody and for all raids. So the fact that you needed 2 people for the radio button to be active is stupid. It's really, really stupid. But at the same time, it's finally here. So it's a mess. And speaking of, the radio button things that like in solo raiders, the 60-second timer is also a mess. So here's the thing. If you are in a level 1 raid by yourself, instead of waiting for a full 2 minutes for the raid to start, you now have 1 minute. I actually did that test. I released that video as a YouTube short, I believe. I know I released it as a TikTok video, and I think I released it on Instagram as well. So yes, if you're doing a level, a tier 1 raid by yourself, the raid timer in the lobby, rather, will go, it's not 120, it's 60 seconds. But again, it's a man, because instead of that, we should have the radio button. We should have the radio button. But the fact that they did that, and it's only for tier 1s. It's not for tier 3s. It's for tier 1s. So it's something. But it's not spectacular. It's just meh, which is why it's here. The updated setting page. So yeah, this was needed. But at the same time, the reason why it's in the meh is because this should have been in the game really years ago. It should have been in the game years ago. This should have been a thing years ago. So that's why it's in the med, because it happened years ago and it took them this long to add it here. So that's why it's in the med. Another med is the number of traders and raids shown. So while this is a good thing, but at the same time, it's not groundbreaking. It doesn't change the game or anything like that. So, and what I mean by that is this. Like, if you're walking around and you see a gym in the distance, you can look at that gym without actually going into the lobby to see how many people are in that gym. So if there's like 3 people in that gym and you're wondering, should you do that or should you pass? Because you need like 4. And you see 3 people in there without actually going into the lobby. Now it's like, oh, there's 3 people in here. Okay, you can see this when you like really from the in-game map. You can see it in the radar. So you can see it from many different places. So that is a good thing. But again, it's not groundbreaking or anything like that. It's not a game changer or anything like that, but it's really good. So really, it's more pro than med, but I put it in the med department. So there you go with that. Now, here's another med. Mega energy from spinning gems. So this is good because again, you're getting more mega energy, but at the same time, it's like, well, you have to be out to get that stuff. Now, granted, yeah, that makes sense. But at the same time, Mega Pokemon, even though some of the Mega Pokemon are really, really good, not all of them are. So that's why it's in the med. But again, it's another one of those scenarios where you can look at it and say it's more good than med. It's in between. But I'm putting it in the med because, again, it's not groundbreaking. It's not, you know, spectacular, anything like that. So last one, the Rev Store. The Rev Store is med because while the stuff that they have in there at those prices could be slightly better, but it's much better than it is in the in-game store. It's much better, without question. It's much better than the in-game store. Not to mention, you don't have to pay all those extra fees because iPhone, you know, Apple, iOS, and Android, whether it's Google or Samsung, they want that money too. So they're going to force Niantic, they have forced Niantic in pretty much any game, any company with a game in their devices, whether it's Apple or Android, they forcing them to charge you more. Keep that in mind. So it's not, oh, Niantic charge more on the phone because they want, no. They are forced to by Apple and by Android. So the Rev Store is definitely the spot to go, but it's still mad because the prices are decent. They're not spectacular. They're better than the in-game store, but they're decent. So there you go with that. So with all that said, the features, I'm gonna give it a D-. So I'm gonna give it a D- for the features because there was a lot more bad and there was a lot more bad than good, and there was a lot more meh than good and bad. So I'm gonna give it a D-. So, and when you got meh, when you got more meh and more cons than pros, and you only have one pro, it's a D-. It's a D- in my opinion. So, and some of those meh save it from being an F, but it's still a D-. So, with those 3 grades in mind, what would I give Pokemon Go or Niantic as a whole for 2023? And that is this. It's a solid C. It's a straight up C. It's not a C+, it's not a C-, it's a C. Because, you know, I did the math, I averaged it out, it's a C. And the word of the year here is exclusivity. Because the game, really because of all those changes that were made, it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody. So I really wanted to hear from them about what, you know, about that in terms of the fact that the game is not for everybody, it's exclusive. And what I mean by that, it's exclusive to those who can actually go out and play the game. Because they said it themselves, and there's interviews about this, they're focusing more on local communities than global communities. They said it themselves, so they want you to go out and engage with your local community, assuming you have one, and just go out and play the game. But again, not everybody can do that. And some of the features that they brought into the game and some of the features that they took away from the game or made worse were to try and put a lot of emphasis on people going out and playing the game. But again, not a lot of people can do that. Therefore, they're making the game exclusive. Exclusive only to those that can go out and play, which is bad. Because once upon a time, the game was available for everybody to play it. But now they're making it where it's not available for everybody to play. Now they may disagree, but I'm like, yo, what about handicapped people? What about people who gotta work all the time? What about people who have other responsibilities and they can't go out and play the game like that? What about people who grind the game? Because that's another thing that they're doing. They're making the game less grindy. So the game is becoming not hardcore friendly. It's really not. So again, a game that was once upon a time available for everybody. Not only is this game not available for those who can't go out, but they trying to make it to the point where you don't have to be a hardcore gamer to play it. And they take away some of the things that hardcore gamers like to do, you know, constantly going out and grinding for certain shinies, for certain Pokemon, things of that nature. And they're trying to make it a casual game where you have to go out and play it. And not everybody want that. Not everybody want that. Not everybody's in a position where they can get that. So that's why the two things here for 2023 was exclusivity and the removal of hardcore grinding in Pokemon Go. So I give it a C. There was some good, but there was some bad as well. So there you go. I'm gonna call it right. If you reached this point of the video, leave in the comment section the word grade. Leave in the comment section grade and tell me what your grade is for Pokemon Go, and tell me why. Don't just tell me a grade and that's it, because I will not take you seriously. Give me a good, logical, factual reason why you graded the raid that you did for 2023. So I want to hear from you guys in the comment section below. And I'm gonna call it a wrap. So with all that said, y'all know this boy New J Gatsby, aka New Stephen A. Smith, saying peace out, y'all, and I'll see y'all next time. Yeah. Subscribe. Thanks, man. Do it. After you subscribe to the channel, make sure you click the bell icon so you never miss a new video or a live stream ever again. Thanks, guys.
Blue is the trainer, articulating paint. With my tongue, I done things that people said I can't. Now they rank 'em with the elite, but it's for the people, and victory is part of defeat. Cause when you get back on your feet, then you try again. Learn from mistakes, show 'em that I got what it takes, and I'm dying to win. I'ma hit and move away.